is the truth. Nothing.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room. Leon's getting larger.
There's something strange happening in this movie.
Was it a dream where you see yourself standing in sort of sun-god robes on a pyramid with 1,000 naked women screaming and throwing little pickles at you?
No.
Why am I the only person that has that dream?
All right, let's get started. All right, let me bring this up in just 1 minute, if I could. Welcome to the show, everybody. Hi, it's House Sparks Mornings, Megaworldwide. Happy Wednesday to you. As the song says, I drove all night just to get back home. I guess it'd be in the third person, which seems a little weird. But either way, it was worth it, because joining me this morning, as per usual, is our dear friend Richard Ojeda, who is running for office in North Carolina. Richard Ojeda for NC.com. Am I getting that right?
Yes,
sir?
Yes, Richard Ojeda for NC.com.
Excellent. Look at that. And first of all, hi, good morning. I got to say, we've been, you and I have been talking about how, and I brought this up a couple times. I'm sure you've had this same kind of fixation, is that even though Trump won this last election, he did not get smarter all of a sudden. It didn't grant him extra powers of perception or intellect or capability. He's the same moron we dealt with last time, making the same You'll recall Mike Flynn, his NSA, was literally the only reason people don't get flinned when they get bumped from office is because Scaramucci was bounced quicker and has a funner name to say. Like their name is more. Scaramucci is hilarious.
Yeah.
So you can get 3 Scaramuccis or something like that, and you've only been there for almost less than a month. And now we've got Pete Hegseth, who allegedly was sober when a lot of this stuff went down. And I think he's not getting quite enough attention, Trump's national security advisor, Michael Waltz, who Waltz added Jeffrey Goldberg to the chat. But it was Hegseth that brought it home and actually said shit in the chat that you're not supposed to say over unsecured lines on unsecured devices. And then and did you watch the stuff yesterday? I'm going to get your thoughts. And then made everybody lie for him. And now these assholes have all under oath said, I don't know, there wasn't any classified stuff on there. So anyways, your thoughts. I mean, there's so much.
Well, in Donald Trump's first term, he did have, at least he had people in positions that knew how to do their job. Now, This administration, Donald Trump's second administration, he's just surrounded himself with sycophants that will do whatever he tells them to do. And I'm going to tell you, this is what bothers me, because during these conversations that they were having over the Signal app, which, by the way, is not a place that you basically communicate top secret, issues. You don't do that.
Yeah.
That right there tells us how lazy that these people are. Because let me tell you something. These are conversations that should be being taken place in skiffs. And there's lots of rules and regulations to that. And they basically just said, hey, we'll just use this little app. And everybody that participated with that should resign. And the fact that nobody was checking. When Pete Hegseth started posting stuff, nobody said, stop, everybody stop.
Yeah.
We've got to take this conversation someplace else. They didn't. They just kept on going with it. And let me tell you something. We're talking about weapons. We're talking about operations. We're talking about the timing of operations. We're talking about targets. And this is, I mean, look, if the bad guys know, because somebody was able to break into this Signal app and they know that we're going to have F-35s flying over top of our area between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. What that means is that they get ready with their air defense artillery capabilities, and then the people that are going to be in those jets flying over that airspace is going to be in jeopardy and could potentially be shot down, killed, captured, and what else? I mean, that's the kind of stuff. And people have to understand that that was the kind of stuff and the information that they were actually sharing on an app that you get off of the App Store. And what's really sad is I believe Tulsi Gabbard, when she first took over, fired like 100 people, because of messaging. This is a slap in the face, and the reason why they were getting grilled and they wasn't willing to show anything is because they know that it is very damaging what they were talking about. They have no excuse for doing this over a friggin' phone app. Now I know everybody says Signal is one of the best apps that you can get as far as protecting yourself. If you can buy an app off of the App Store, it's not something that you need to be basically communicating secrets with. And that is absolutely unacceptable. They should either resign or be fired. Hegseth needs to go. Gabbard needs to go. Waltz needs to go. At a minimum, those three. J.D. Vance absolutely needs to be disciplined. Don't know how. Donald Trump probably won't do it, but I'm going to tell you right now, this is a slap in the face. This is an embarrassment. This is national security, and they're playing games with it.
Okay, I have to say, there are lots of reasons to have secrets and keep secrets that are not nefarious, awful, racist, gross, whatever. But you can tell because of the nature of them, the right especially, bouncing around on a bunch of these websites and these different apps, why they are attracted to WhatsApp and then Signal and all these various sources is because they think they found a way around the government looking at and hearing your conversations. This is why right-wingers, it's why Fox News hosts and campaign people use Signal, not government officials, but people who are in these positions. This is why they use this app, is so that they think the government can't see it. Okay, first of all, yes, they can. They just need a warrant, and it's a little more complicated. But in this particular case, they let the reporter in, which is particularly hilarious. But you can see why they get attracted to this, because finally I can let my freak flag fly and there won't be any record of it. This is, and they figure they can, hide in this and get away with it. This is Signal. This is the app, by the way, that they're using. It is, and the part that drives me crazy about it, and I don't know if they list it here, but it is, they don't seem to on the site, but it is open source. It was created by a foundation. This guy created this cryptographer created the system behind this and gave it away to the world so that people could speak freely, because he has this kind of libertarian hyperfixation. So under normal circumstances, these assholes would call this a bunch of commie claptrap, that some guy has created a free app and they're all freeloading off of it. And just for that merit alone, the fact that they use Signal is hilarious. But it's open source, meaning that anybody wants to make their own tweaked version of the underlying software, they're allowed. It's like Mastodon, which is what Truth Sinkhole is made on. It's open source. It's even beyond the I gave it away free, but you could make your own modified tweak of the code, which means the code is tweakable by whoever is using it. So the idea that there aren't some major code breakers or people finding ways to manipulate the system in foreign governments for espionage reasons is just dumb. The second, people have been using this for years, which means they've been at it forever to try and get into this. But the irony that the whole point on this is that, it's encrypted end to end. And this is the visual that you'll see here, is that these are all locked. And as you do it, this is what it looks like. And then it unlocks because only you on your phone can see it. Two things. One is keystrokes I don't have to break into this fucking app if I have a keystroke collector on your goddamn phone, because I can read what you're writing, and that's enough. And if I can read what you're writing, I can figure out what group you're in, and I can set up the exact same on the private devices of Tulsi Gabbard, of Pete Hegseth, of whoever the fuck I'm, pushing around with this. So I don't need the app to do this. I just need access to your fucking phone is the entire point. These people are using their private phones. And once you're in, you're in. Never mind the fact that all of these assholes at one point or currently have TikTok on their private phones because they were using it for campaign purposes for the Trump campaign. That's it. That's your location. That's all your files. That's your keystrokes. That's your mic on. That's your phone, your camera on. And you don't need to break the encryption. It can just record your screen all the time. It's like a camera always pointed at the surface of your phone. And like the dumbest part yesterday, and this is the part that drove me the most crazy, and I'm sure it won't be any better today at the House hearing, which I wish you were there. Everybody, Richard Ojeda for NC.com will get you into the House, and you on the House panel today of Intel would be so choice in this situation.
Oh.
Yesterday, the most frustrating thing, of a lot of things, was the CIA director basically saying, I don't recall, I don't know, I'm not privy to that, I don't know these things. All stuff he absolutely does and should know. And Ossoff, bless his heart, saying, you do know.
Yes.
You do know.
Let me tell you something. This is what I'm interested in, because you know what? It's not just that conversation, which absolutely was damaging.
Right.
I want to know everything that they have said on the Signal.
Right.
I don't just want this conversation. I want every single conversation that they have had since they took office, because
Right.
I guarantee you that would be very, very damaging to all of them. I bet you that they've probably daggone ripped Elon Musk a new one. They've probably said all kinds of things because, once again, they just thought that only a few people could be in this conversation. I think that we need to demand that we get the transcripts of every single conversation that came from Pete Hegseth and that came from Tulsi Gabbard, came from Waltz. I think that's important, because if they're this cavalier to literally talk about mission operations on a Signal app, I'm telling you right now, they've been talking about things on this app from the beginning. And that is absolutely damaging. This places our troops in harm's way. This, and once again, anybody in the military. I think they just sentenced a guy to prison for 15 years who was a soldier. His name's like Texiera. Like literally a month ago, they sentenced him to prison for literally doing the same thing that what they were talking about, operations on the Signal app, I believe. And I'm pretty sure it was the Signal app. He
also had Signal, as did the shooter that shot at Trump in Butler. A bunch of people have it as well for this very reason, to use it, Doug. His stuff he was sending out over Discord. So he was even dumber than your average Intel spoiler. That said, here you're really onto one particular point that I saw them dodge yesterday, and nobody really went back to it because the nature of the actual thing right in front of them was so incendiary that I think they found it difficult to do. And that was that one person, I forget who it was, it might have been Warner, brought up are you a part of any other groups, any other Signal groups? And he followed up with this whole where classified information is shared. Well, first of all, they already lied about classified information. What they're saying is this stuff hasn't been officially classified yet, even though it absolutely qualifies as classified. This is pre-classified. It is clearly not for public release. They went around that and Mark Kelly did a great job talking the law on that yesterday. But they all dodged no, I haven't been part of a Signal, any other Signal groups where classified documents have been shared or whatever. First of all, bullshit. Second, what that says to me is They're on a bunch of fucking signal groups talking about all kinds of shit. And who got invited to those? Sergei Lavrov?
This is pure laziness.
Yeah.
What this is shows us that they're too damn lazy to just walk into a skiff. And
Right.
let me tell you something. Literally everywhere that Pete Hegseth goes, there is a skiff. Every military, every daggone, brigade level, battalion level has a skiff.
Yeah.
I mean, that this is what this is. And what it is they just didn't want to, I don't know, take the time to make the 15-minute walk, into this one room in the Pentagon where they could have these conversations freely. That's what this was. This was laziness. And once again, let one person, if this would have been anybody that's a Democrat, they would be absolutely calling for the guillotine for these people. And this is exactly who these people are. It's like when they get caught doing it, it's not a big deal. When anybody else gets caught doing it, holy hell, they're trying to throw our democracy in the toilet. And that's why this matters. That's why people should be pissed about this. And if you got family members that are serving in the military, these jackasses are literally placing their lives in jeopardy. If you have family members that are pilots, actually, are fighter pilots, this places them in jeopardy. When you give somebody the timing of when you're planning on hitting somebody, they can absolutely get their air defense artillery ready to bust anything that's in the sky. And I got it, but we've got better equipment. Doesn't matter. Doesn't mean that somebody can't get lucky and take somebody down. This is what this is. This is a slap in the face. Every single communication needs to come out. We all need to see it. And Donald Trump is going to sit here and he's going to act like it's not a big deal. But where the hell is our generals? Let me tell you, I am so sick and tired right now at our 4-star generals. You're not going to be a 5-star general. There is no more 5-star general. You are already at the top of your level. And let me tell you something. Your silence is sickening. You're a 4-star general. You're sitting quiet while they try to whitewash our military. They're scrubbing it of any history of people of color, the Navajo code talkers, the Tuskegee Airmen. They're literally getting rid of the photograph of the Enola Gay because of the word gay, not realizing that that's the name of the pilot's mother. This is the kind of garbage that we are seeing right now. And it's absolutely unacceptable. And I mean, where are the 4-star generals? I tell people all the time, if you are given an order that it's unlawful, illegal, or immoral, you have a duty to refuse that order. But right now, we've got 4-star generals watching people whitewash our country, our military, get rid of people of color in high positions. The whole shaving profile that Pete Hegseth says we're going to do away with. Do you know who that targets? That targets black men. Because black men, not all of them, but lots of them, when they shave, they get ingrown hairs all over their face. Yeah. And let me tell you something. They will walk around with open sores all over their face. So what we did to stop that, we said, okay, we're going to give you a shaving profile. Doesn't mean you get to grow a wizard friggin' style beard. It means that you can grow facial hair and then you have to keep it nice and trimmed. But that way you don't have these problems. By doing away with the shaving profiles, what that's doing is that's attacking majority people of color. This is what they're trying to do. And they're really trying to get away with this. And it's absolutely sickening. And our 4-star generals are sitting silent. And I would love to look them in the face and say, where were you? Where were you when all this stuff was taken by? Because you didn't say nothing. I'm seeing all these retired generals come out of the woodworks, and they're daggone absolutely, throwing stones at Donald Trump and his garbage. But where are the 4-star generals now? You're not going to make 5-star general. So either stand up for our military and our democracy, or just freaking resign. Take your retirement and fucking ride off into the sunset.
We have so one of the big questions about yesterday was, and there are a couple of things that really stood out to me. One was when Tulsi Gabbard, they asked her a question and she said, I don't think I can answer that here. I took that as to mean is I'm under oath. If I answer it honestly, we're all fucked. So I'll answer it later or I'll obfuscate. And Hegseth, the two guys most responsible were not in that hearing. Hegseth and Waltz need to be called before this hearing together, right next to each other, sitting and sweating with lawyers present. And they need to be, because all this stuff about Hegseth calling, shitting on Jeffrey Goldberg or whatever, all just normal Trump blather. But the reason he can say it is because he's not under oath. He can bullshit about this. He's not under oath. He does not take his position or his job in the government seriously so much that he considers everything he says as SecDef should have meaning or, yeah, go ahead. You're about,
he doesn't know. He doesn't know how to do his job. What he thinks is flying around all over the world, landing on military bases, doing PT with the troops, fist bumping and giving out coins. That's what he thinks his job is. That's what he thinks his job is. Let me tell you something. I am a retired U.S. Army major. Now, I was selected for lieutenant colonel, but I chose to retire because my kids were getting ready to get out of high school, and I wanted to spend the last couple of years with them. And to be honest with you, the last job that I was in was absolute brutal, and it absolutely sucked. And I said, I'm ready for the civilian life. But let me tell you something. As an active duty major that went through all the education, all the way up to the Command General Staff College, I am nowhere near qualified to serve as the Secretary of Defense. Nowhere near. That job is usually for a 4-star general retired or an admiral. That's what that job usually goes for.
Right.
So Pete Hegseth, a guy who is, I'm sorry, but a National Guardsman. And once again, I'm not throwing stones at the National Guard. If it wasn't for the National Guard, people like me would have never got to come home from these combat deployments. So National Guard absolutely stepped up to the place and they deployed. Pete Hegseth deployed in the National Guard. But let me tell you something. He does not have the education. Nowhere near. He don't have the education that I have in terms of military education. And this guy right here, I'm sorry, but a week in the month and 2 weeks a year is not enough to give him the capability to do this job properly.
Agreed. I would argue even worse. He is laboring under the illusion that it is more than enough, it'd be one thing if he had a humble view of himself and the job that he has and the level that he's in, but he views himself as some sort of like SEAL Team 6 member. Like he acts as though he walks around with the posture that his National Guard service mixed with the fact that Trump made him SecDef automatically puts him ahead of, combat troops and people that have done all, like Medal of Honor winners. Like he feels like he's in their league magically all of a sudden. So the big lie, the reason why he was able to say this shit and get away with it because he was saying it on tarmacs instead of under oath in front of a congressional committee, where he was saying war plans were not published on this thing. Nobody was texting war plans. Okay, never mind the fact that that's a fucking dodge. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's the thing, though. That's the thing. First off, that guy was accidentally added to the chat. And because that guy immediately saw, whoa, hold on here. Why am I here listening to this? And because that guy pulled away, and he did the right thing. He did the right thing. It doesn't matter. You need to make a phone call and let people know. If you believe that somebody has shared top secret information with you, let me tell you something. If you just go, I'm just going to act like I didn't see that, then you're part of the problem, and you also can be prosecuted for this. But yet, once again, this is what they do. They lash out at the guy who was accidentally added to the daggone conversation. And that is cowardly. But that right there shows you that, once again, they're way over their head. Pete Hegseth has no concept of what he's doing. The guy literally is just flying around and doing fist bumps and trying to act like, he's the cool guy doing PT with everybody, but he don't know what the hell he's doing. And once again, look, at the end of the day, at the minimum, I believe that Hegseth, I believe Waltz, and I believe daggone Tulsi Gabbard need to either resign or they need to be fired.
I want to show everybody something. This is there 2 points. One, the only reason we know that Hegseth broke the law by publishing battle plans, military actions on this Signal app before they were going to happen on unsecured devices and an unsecured, uncleared app for classified documents. It is DoD policy, it is government policy that this is not to be used for stuff like this because it cannot be trusted. The only reason we know that Hegseth is lying about what was on there, never would have told anybody, is because they accidentally put Jeffrey Goldberg on it. Had he not been there, this would have happened on this app. And if anybody else had been there, which I think is the big worry, if dipshit Waltz had actually invited, one of the people in the negotiations with Russia over Ukraine or some other party to it and not realize the initials were wrong, that would have shared it with possibly a sympathetic group. Now, the big lie was from Hegseth, no battle plans, no war plans were texted, is what he said, which, by the way, texting and calling it an app and saying, well, it's a communication thread. It's not really a text. Like, you could tell that's why he's fucking tap dancing around part of this, but it doesn't matter. The Atlantic published this morning the actual battle plan, the pre-battle plan. This was received by Jeffrey Goldberg and everyone on this chat before the attack on the Houthis, specifically on that Saturday morning when Jeffrey Goldberg realized, oh shit, this is real. The reason he realized it was because he saw this, and then 2 hours later, it happened. And here it is, 1410, more F-18s launch second strike package. 1415, strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop. Fucking hell. Will definitely drop. Pending earlier, trigger-based targets. 1536, F-18 second strike starts. Also, first sea-based Tomahawks launch. More to follow per timeline. We are currently clean on OPSEC. That was the part where he said that we've got operational security. Godspeed to our warriors. This part of it, here's the other part too. 12:15 Eastern Time, F-18 launch, first strike package. 13:45, trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts. Target terrorist is at his known location, so should be on time. Also, strike drones launch MQ-9s. Remember all that shit yesterday that Tulsi Gabbard was saying about, I don't recall there being any specifics about targets, specific about gear, specific bullshit. Even just seeing this in its shape, even if you don't remember the F-18s or remember that, that it was that MQ-9s and the follow-up Tomahawks were coming, if you see this written this way in the chat from the Secretary of fucking Defense a week and a half ago, you sure as fuck know that there were specifics discussed. Period. You can't walk into that goddamn thing. This was not 8 months ago. This is not, I'm on 95. And the only reassuring part, the only way she could actually say, I don't genuinely remember if specifics were talked about on this thread, is because specifics are being talked about on a shit ton of threads. And she's using the obfuscation. I don't remember if it was that we talked about, plans and actual materials and targets and actual planes and actual weapons on this chat or a bunch of the fucking others. That's literally the legal wiggle room she's giving herself. Holy fucking
liar.
shit.
She is a liar. She is a liar. And oh, by the way, wasn't another person on this chat was actually in Russia at the time?
Yes, Witkoff.
And let me tell you something.
Fucking Witkoff.
I would not trust anyone's phone on Russian soil that they probably don't have all the information for. So once again, this lets it be. Imagine if Russia has this information and they were able to friggin' get it somehow with whatever they could pick up on somebody's phone. And they knew this, and then they once again warned our opposition. If you think that daggone Vladimir Putin gives a shit about our military, then you are part of the friggin' problem. I mean, this stuff that they did, this is deadly. This is giving the answers to the exam to the bad guys.
Yes.
And these people, they must be dealt with. And once again, we listen to them scream and bitch about Hillary Clinton's private
Dude.
email server. But once
Oh
again,
my
this is the
God.
thing. The Republican Party are this way. You know, Fox News, they're this way. Fox News, daggone, literally ripped President Obama every single time they saw him with a golf club in his hand, saying that he's not working for the American people. He's doing golf. And then Donald Trump comes and golfs more in 4 years than Obama did in 8 years, and not one single word do we hear from Fox News. This is how they are. It's a double standard is what it is. But this right here is absolutely something that is fire-worthy. Even Tulsi definitely lied to Congress, a bold-faced lie to their face. I mean, this is something that people go to jail for.
You and I probably have done our fair share of like, if Obama, if Clinton, if whatever, so many goddamn times in our head. But look at the text. I want everybody to really absorb this. And look at the text of this particular thread. It is like two whole chunks of this thing. He shares, when that happened, 11:45 a.m. Hegseth posted in all caps, team update, time now, 11:44 Eastern time. That's when the text went out. Weather is favorable. Just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch. And then he posts what the fucking mission is. Now think for a second. If any of us during the Hillary Clinton email scandal, during the Hillary Clinton server scandal, if Fox News had a message like this that they had confirmed was sent on Hillary Clinton's server, right? And they published it, but like, we've gotten clearance to publish this. This was sent out over her server. We have proof. Holy shit. That like it would be the nonstop go-to for the right-wing media for a decade. They would all pop this shit up and go, this is what she was emailing. And none of them would go, well, it's not really a battle plan. It's not really a battle plan. It's not really because it's not a war plan. It's not a war plan because we're not at war with them. It's more of a tactical strike. So technically, blah, blah, blah. They wouldn't do that. They would go, she needs to be hung in jail. That's again for the third time for the QAnons out there.
Scroll up a little bit. Scroll up a little bit real quick.
This part.
Right there, stop. Let's go this part here. Go up a little. Go down. Scroll up. Up a little bit. Up a little bit. Sorry. Up. Other way.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Stop right there. Stop right there. That paragraph right there. The one up top. Go show the whole paragraph.
Oh yeah.
Right
yes. Here. Oh, this one right here.
Here, the signal message shows that the United States Secretary of Defense texted a group that included a phone number unknown to him, which is Goldberg. But once again, this was 31 minutes before the first U.S. warplane launched and 2 hours and 1 minute before the beginning of a period in which a primary target, the Houthi target terrorist, was expected to be killed by the American aircraft. That right there, what they did, if you look at that right there, they placed every single person that was in that mission, they placed their lives in jeopardy for this communication. And once again, folks, everybody got to understand, everybody, you can say, well, Signal app is one of the most secure apps that we have for civilian. But it don't mean that it's daggone impenetrable. Make no mistake about it. This is something that bad guys can easily intercept. And what that right there was they literally gave the answers to the exam. It could have literally cost the lives and I mean millions of dollars worth of equipment and the loss of lives. That's what these people are gambling with. And that's why nobody, if you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you're an independent, this should piss you off. Because even if you're a Republican, you should be supportive of our military. And this kind of bullshit, because this is laziness, this is talk that should only take place in skiffs on computers and phones that are specifically for secret conversations. That's it. That's the only place. The reason why they were doing it on Signal is because they're a bunch of lazy friggin' jackaloons, and they don't want to waste the time, or not waste the time. They don't want to take the time. They're too lazy to take the time to walk their asses to a damn skiff. This is a slap in the face. Anybody in the intelligence community should be absolutely livid at this garbage. And if you're not, then you're part of the friggin' problem.
Right. Yeah. You're engaged in it. You're right now. You're dumping out of a bunch of Signal groups going, okay, guys, sorry, but we can't use these anymore. Like, I guarantee there were about like 24 fucking signal groups shut down in the last 72 hours. No question. By all the same motherfuckers, and set up by Waltz and Hegseth, because they all fucking think that they work at a corporation and not the U.S. government, and that lives aren't on the line because it's all about, profit and fucking loss. It's fucking embarrassing.
I bet you right now you probably couldn't even find the Signal app on their phones. I'm sure
No, right.
they're dumping everything.
Oh
When
my
they
God, absolutely.
it just takes one subpoena and they can get everything. And I want to see it. I want those conversations.
Yeah, well, that's okay. So, for the record, I did a fucking travel show in China. A travel show. I was meant to like comedically coax people to see the sights in China at some point, was the whole purpose of the show I was doing there. And while I was filming there, I had a burner. I had a separate phone. I had my phone from home turned off the entire time I was in the airspace of China. And if I'd have flown on China Airlines, I would have shut it off before I got on the goddamn plane. I separated those two things because the ability to place malware and listening stuff on all of it is too goddamn easy. On all these private phones, I would land, get a phone there, and then I used that phone as my travel phone. I left it at one of the offices there when I flew back and didn't go anywhere near it. And I'm doing I just don't want them spying on me for personal reasons. I don't have like the lives of soldiers that pivot on the information that's in my fucking phone. I just was skeeved out by how easy it is and how willing they were to do it. The fact that they like this laziness is the kind of shit, quite frankly, a Fox News weekend host does. This is like who's just full of himself and gets busted for drinking on the job or cheating on his wife and having a baby and all that kind of stuff. This is so Hegseth. All of this. This is so him. If Goldberg hadn't been there, we wouldn't know that this crime happened. This is the crime that happened. This is it. And the fact that these guys had, either didn't know or didn't care to know that who else was on this fucking text chain means who else is on the rest of them? Yeah. Who else on all the other signal groups? What name means Sergei Lavrov in one of those groups?
Yep.
God damn, this is dumb.
This is what happens when President Donald Trump doesn't care about qualifications of certain jobs and just wants to put sycophants in positions because he knows that they will just do whatever he says. They'll bow down to him. They'll stroke his ego. That's what Donald Trump wants. And once again, I saw somebody say it, that right now we have the dumbest administration in the history of our country. That's a fact. The dumbest. Yeah. And look, I'm going to tell you, it may not be stupidity, but it is kind of stupidity. But it also is just a lack of experience. I'm going to tell you that I'm livid at Pete Hegseth because of this. But once again, Pete Hegseth should have never been put in that position. Pete Hegseth is not qualified for that position. So I don't blame Pete Hegseth as much as I blame Donald Trump for putting him in that position because he is unqualified for the job. Now, the fact that they're using this kind of garbage to communicate, national secrets and plans, I mean, that's pure stupidity. And I'm just, we are so much better than this.
I gotta say, like, knowing that this stuff was more than likely in there yesterday while we're watching this bullshit, hearing and watching them tap dance around this like they don't think this shit is coming out. And then all of them going, there was no classified information on there, and that was their fallback. No one thinks that this wouldn't qualify as classified information. No one. This is not the worst fucking maggot, not Marjorie Taylor fucking Greene, not any of these people. They are all, I guarantee, to a person going, Pete, what the fuck? today, right? They were already doing it, but maybe they were buying what he said. But now that this has been published, every single one of them is like they're for one of two reasons. Either they're outraged as they should be on the merits, or they're it's a self-involved thing like, how dare you do this to us and Donald Trump, dumb. But either way, it ain't good. And
Are they
reading
having
that,
more
yeah,
hearings? Are they having more hearings
today,
today?
House is today, and I
It's gonna get ugly.
guarantee it's going to get ugly. And again, Hegseth and fucking Waltz, insofar as I know, aren't a part of it. Hegseth's still in fucking Hawaii. Trump hasn't even called this dippy motherfucker back to the office. What the shit is that? Like, at the very least, Pete, you got to come back. You got to stand next to me while I talk about this like some fucking housewife that has to go along with her philandering Republican, governor husband who went on the Appalachian Trail. You get stand there, shut the fuck up, and kiss my ass. And then when it's time, if I need you to, throw yourself on the sword. That's what should be occurring. But what he did was, and you can tell yesterday, I don't know how much of you saw, but you could tell yesterday that fucking Ratcliffe, who thought he was walking in there and was going to be able to do your standard, I don't recall what I saw, and that would be enough of a dodge, which it fucking ain't. And Tulsi Gabbard was doing the same thing. Both of them, by the end of it, you could tell when they started this whole like, I defer to the SecDef on what qualifies as classified. I let them lead the way. Oh, yeah. That's literally like moving this motherfucker towards the window and letting gravity do its work. Because that's what Radcliffe was done by the end of the thing. Because he looked like an asshole and he knew it. He's stupid. He's unqualified. There's a bunch of other shit. That's a reason why he's a fuck up, too. But he definitely felt like outed as a fuck up because of Pete Hegseth.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and we may watch that. We may watch them eat each other's faces. I think that's probably what's going to happen. And just like you said, they're trying to walk Hegseth to the window. And once again, Hegseth needs to go. Let's see if Donald Trump has the courage to do so, but Hegseth needs to go. If people in Donald Trump's circle are not telling him that at a minimum, Hegseth needs to go. But once again, Tulsi Gabbard, I mean, once and for let me tell you a little something.
Yeah,
this is what leaders do. Leaders seek responsibility and then accept responsibility for their actions. And what we are watching right now are leaders not accepting. They're not seeking responsibility and they're not accepting responsibility for their actions. They're now pointing. They're now going to try to blame everything on the SecDef, who they know is unqualified for this job. Tulsi Gabbard knows exactly that daggone Pete Hegseth is far unqualified for this job. But make no mistake, now they're pointing the finger at the guy that they know is unqualified. They need to go. Every one of those folks should be fired. And then, I believe, possibly prosecuted.
Right. Well, that's the issue right now. It's like, again, this part of it is clearly a crime. You can obfuscate and fucking tap dance. Everybody can, all they want. All right. You can try and sell this fucking this Brooklyn Bridge to whoever you want to, but there is no. I hope that, again, if this had come out yesterday before the Senate hearing, it would have been twice as fucking incendiary. Imagine, look at yesterday what they were talking about, and this is before the Atlantic posted the war plans that Pete Hegseth said. Now, these have already been carried out. There's no one in danger. This is after action, so it is safe for this information to come out. As insofar as our soldiers, it is not safe in terms of if it gives you the strategy aspects of what are the order of attack things we've done in the past, because past being prologue, they could interpret a lot of things from this. But this needs to be hammered. If this had shown up in Hillary Clinton's server, the right wing would have this, like Pete Hegseth would have this tattooed on his chest instead of the fucking Crusader cross.
Yeah, absolutely. But by the way, remember that it proves with the paragraph above that says that this was 31 minutes before the initial start of this operation. this is it. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't need 2 days to prepare yourself. 31 minutes is all the time that I need to make sure that my air defense artillery is waiting for whatever the hell shows up in the sky.
Oh, it was an hour and a half. It was 2.5 hours before they could get they could target on some, right, because it was like 30 minutes to launch and then 2 hours for the planes and everything to get there, and then they would get Tomahawk cover. And these guys, I mean, let's just say, I don't know what the blast radius of a Tomahawk missile is, but let's say it's a 1/4 mile total safety zone. Like you want to be outside it hitting whatever you want to be. There
will be loss of life. There will be collateral damage.
Right. So let's say, but you've got a 1/4 mile blast radius around where this Tomahawk missile is. If it's hitting a building or a place in their camp, you have a half hour now. Let's say this got to anybody but Jeffrey Goldberg. You have a half hour at minimum to be able to clear that zone. They know they're striking you. They know where you are, and they know they're going to these guys are going to bomb you, and there's going to be a Tomahawk missile strike, and it's going to happen about 2 hours from now, and you've got a half hour before they even take off. If you had that information, if our enemies had that kind of information right before these strikes, we'd never hit anybody. Never. Yeah. And so the person wouldn't get caught. The whoever they were trying to kill would be able to get out of the way. And secondly, you'd have 2 hours to reposition your air defenses and shoot our planes out of the fucking sky. And the idea that
they're probably not going to try to clear things out, except clear out the people that they know are targets. Because let me tell you something, they sure do love them some collateral damage. They sure do love you. They're going to say, look, the Americans bombed this area, and look at all these people that were injured and killed. They love that stuff. But
they like,
now, unacceptable.
Macho posturing bullshit. This is, I have to say, like, very few things for me are like infuriating. But like just looking at how this is written, what's in it, the obviousness of it being a war plan, the fucking cavalier, like just used car salesman level bullshitting that Hegseth did on that fucking tarmac in Hawaii when he's going to have like breakfast with the troops and dick around and play soldier when he's supposed to be the Secretary of Defense of the United States. And he's literally just using it as a reason to like tour around and bro it up with people. That's fucking embarrassing anyways, while a scandal happens, period, whatever that thing was, whatever it was. But looking at the content of this stuff and the obvious information, that it just shows you how much they were lying. This is like the depth of the lies yesterday.
Yeah, I held the top secret security clearance, and I know that Tulsi Gabbard also held the top secret security clearance. When you are read in on anything, and I will tell you that, when you go into a skiff and you get read in on something, they make sure that you know that the moment you step outside of that skiff, if you so much as breathe any information that you got inside of that skiff about that situation that you were read in on, you will go to prison. And that's literally the speech that you're given when they read you in on things. She knows that. She knows better. I know she was a lieutenant colonel. She absolutely knows better. And that's why this is so damaging, because it was pure laziness. At a minimum, she should have been the first one to say, stop, no more speaking, completely back away. We cannot have this conversation here.
Right.
That's what she should have. And then she still should have made a phone call. Because at the end of the day, this is also protecting yourself. Because right now, because they didn't, every single person that is on that chain, except the daggone person who let everybody know about it, Goldberg, should be held accountable and could be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah, they were as soon as they recognized a crime was being committed and they take one step further, they were participants in that crime. And they, you could argue there was a RICO aspect to this, as a conspiracy to continue to commit this crime because they participated in the ongoing release of this kind of information. The follow-up, and this is kind of like, because it's not assetted out the way the other stuff like a bullet point. Waltz followed up at 1:48 after the attack. This is how Goldberg knew that it was real, because he saw the bombs dropping and then he saw them respond to it, and it was internal stuff. VP, this is Waltz talking to the vice president. Building collapsed, had multiple positive ID. Pete Carrilla in the IC, amazing job. He's tapping them. It seems like Vance thought that Pete Hegseth was killed in the explosion for a split second, because Waltz was referring to Pete Hegseth, General Michael E. Carrilla, commander of the Central Command and the Intelligence Community, or IC. Reference to multiple positive IDs suggests U.S. intelligence had ascertained identities of the Houthi target or other targets using either human or technical assets, which means we had eyes on the ground or satellite imagery, which again is intel that tells you a lot. Just knowing that we were watching, how we were watching, and how they knew what had happened, you can tell, you can backdate that fucking, piece of mail and figure out when it was dropped in the box. 6 minutes later, the vice president, apparently confused by Waltz's message, wrote, "What?" Waltz responds, "Typing too fast. The first target, their top missile guy, we had a positive idea of him walking into his girlfriend's building, and it's now collapsed." Now, we're assuming that he didn't have access, and nobody was sharing this shit on another signal group that he had access to, and didn't just go into the building, which is a cover, like one of their, like, they're kind of like secret zones, and went down into a tunnel and went to another building 5 miles away and is still alive someplace. They're just saying we hit the building, and they're like, "Bro," and they're just like up top about all the shit. Okay. Then, so Vance responds a minute later. "Excellent." 35 minutes after that, Ratcliffe, CIA director, wrote, "A good start." Now, yesterday, Ratcliffe said he did not know that he does not recall specifics in terms of targets. This was one of the, he said a bunch of shit. He didn't remember specific weapons, specific anything, but he didn't remember specific targets. This is him responding to the death of a specific target in a specific building that was a physical target and a person. Fuck you, John Ratcliffe, you piece of shit. Then Waltz follows up with his fucking fist emoji and the American flag, and then fire, whatever. And then later that afternoon, Hegseth posted, "CENTCOM was/is on point." Notably, he then told the group that the attacks would be continuing. "Great job. More strikes ongoing for hours tonight, and we'll provide full initial report tomorrow, but on time, on target, and good readouts so far." This is the actual text of this shit. "Team establishing principles group." This is like all this shit. This is it. And let's just go with and you can read this on The Atlantic. They're posting it. This is the article today. This is the breaking article. This is there's the Pete Hegseth shit. That is what we refer to as evidence.
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth in
look,
green.
If you're a Trumpaloon, if you're a Republican right now, just ask yourself this: if this was Joe Biden's administration, and if this was General Austin, by the way, if this was General Lloyd Austin, who was the Secretary of Defense before Pete Hegseth, let me tell you something: this would never have happened. Because General Austin is absolutely qualified for that job, and Pete Hegseth is nowhere near qualified for this job.
I mean, holy shit. And the whole thing, I would remind everybody, yesterday, Tulsi Gabbard and Ratcliffe and Kash Patel, who I do not believe is on this chain, was he? I forget.
No.
But is clearly on a bunch of others. dealing with like cartels, which they have designated as terrorist organizations. So there's similar things that they're talking about openly, I have no doubt. And he's doing a sweep right now. They said yesterday, no, I don't remember any specific weapon systems. I don't remember specific targets being discussed. I don't remember timelines. And then you look at this, just look at this with your own fucking eyes and go, if you saw anything on this fucking text thread, the only things that are truly memorable is this bullshittery, this fucking, fisting the American flag until you get hemorrhoids exchange that that Mike Waltz puts up. And then and this fucking Steve Witkoff bullshit. Here's who's on the fucking chat. Here they are. Like, if you remember anything, you remember this dumbassery and this. That's what you remember. Like the personal, I don't remember the VP was for it or against it. You could argue that because there was, he was all over the map. This, you'd remember. You'd fucking remember. And it was a week and a half ago, you Iran Contra motherfuckers. I don't recall.
Yeah.
There's no way around this.
Yeah.
There is no way around.
And those they need to be grilled in front of Congress. And
yes,
when we now that we know we've caught most of them in lies, that needs to be addressed. Once again, you don't get to lie to Congress.
Nope.
And Tulsi knows that. But Pete Hegseth is about to learn that. Everybody else absolutely already knows that. So this is
who put the group together? Who's the admin? Michael Waltz. There it is. There it is, ladies and gentlemen, right there. That's the guy who sent out all the invites and brought everybody in. And Scott Bessent was second on the list. Scott Bessent, the fuck is the Treasury Secretary doing in on war plans at all? Why are they dragging this dumb motherfucker into this? Like, he doesn't have enough problems with Trump's tariffs bullshit.
Because this is all of their good buddies that have been added into the Donald Trump administration, and the truth is that they have multiple conversations about anything and everything that you could think of on this Signal app. I'm telling you right now, when they go in there and they subpoena Signal for every single communication of every single person that's on this thread, wow, get ready. You're going to see all kinds of stuff that have been spoken about on a friggin' app that you can get off of the friggin' app store. And I'm going to tell you, all this stuff is compromised. Everything that they've done is compromised.
Mm-hmm. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to a young man named Walker Barrett, who is a professional staff member at the House Armed Services Committee for the Republicans. He's been there since 2023, and then they moved him over for this. He is the second person added to this fucking thing as one of the guys who was bringing people in and doing other stuff. Brian, I'm assuming that's the dude from Marjorie Taylor Greene's side piece.
Oh my god,
the reporter.
Yeah.
We're gonna need an accounting of who everybody is. That'll be the other thing.
Also understand that this conversation you brought in, probably most likely, you're right, Marge the Trainwreck Greene's piece.
Yeah.
Why are you adding that guy to friggin' attack plans, you friggin' morons?
Right. Yeah. I don't, and again, I don't know that that's actually him or order, but it just says Brian, and Trump has him around all the fucking time, and
he's perfect sense. Guaranteed, you're right.
Yeah, and so and JD Vance was like third to last, in this. So now everybody's in. I think they're in. They're not in alphabetical order per se, are they? Yeah, they are. Okay, so we don't know what order they were entered into. Here's JG at the top, but everybody else who follows on after that. Hegseth's got his fucking picture on it, as does Dan Katz. Everybody else, at least, seems to. TG is Tulsi Gabbard. It just has a pink T on there, and that's it. Now, why does it have a pink T? Because she listed female as her on the app as her gender, as her sex. And so it automatically defaulted to this unless you change it to something else in this group. And I don't know is this Mar-a-Lago? Is this like a group at Mar-a-Lago? Is this like, because there's two of them and they talk about, Mar on there. This might be an acronym that I'm not aware of, but here's my question. Okay. First of all, I'm glad that Ratcliffe and Tulsi Gabbard were brought before the committee in the Senate yesterday. But as of, I don't know, fucking whenever, this morning, they need to be brought back. They need to be brought with the rest of these people. We need an interview or a direct, Scott Bessent needs to be fucking grilled on what he remembers from this because he was partnered to a crime as well. Walker Barrett is the guy you roll up. He's the young guy with a fucking future. He can go, well, I actually wasn't on the thread. I was just there to coordinate it. And then I never used it again, or I didn't talk on it because I was just there as coordinating some in case they needed something. And then they would tell me verbally about it, like whatever his excuse will be. He was privy to this and part of the crime. If this is the fucking Brian that is knocking fucking boots with Marjorie Taylor Greene, holy shit. Pete Hegseth, Pete Hegseth and Waltz need to both sit down in front of this, but Dan Katz has got to go. Joe Kent's has got to go. They got to bring everybody else back. Ratcliffe, Susie Wiles might need to be called. She was in on this as well. She's the one who's trying to keep the fucking crazies out. She's the one who was supposed to be the stabilizing factor in this shit. Steve Witkoff was in fucking Russia when this was happening. He needs to be brought and go, where were you when you read this text? Or, this segment that had the war plans. Where were you fucking standing in the Kremlin building? Were you in the fucking cafeteria? Were you in like the bathhouse in the fucking basement? Where were you? This is just starting. And the idea that they go, well, you learn a few things and blah, blah, blah. If this had been on Hillary Clinton's server, it would be the only graphic Fox would have needed for a decade.
Yep.
They would have never gone to anything else. They wouldn't even brought Bleach Bit or any of that shit. They just throw that up and go, see, she almost got our soldiers killed. End of conversation.
Yep. They will absolutely cry, holy hell. And then turn around and do the exact same things.
There he is. Sorry, Phil's in there, and I missed him. I didn't hear him ring to get in there. There he is. So I'm going to bring in Phil in a minute. Sorry, we're over I blazed past that because we had so much to talk about. I want to remind everybody, our dear friend Richard Jetta is running for office. We need to help him get elected. Richard Ojeda, 4nc.com. That's the website. I'll bring Phil in just 1 second, kids. But show every day, half hour Eastern time, 7:30.
8:30 to 9 o'clock every single night. Ojeda Live on Facebook and YouTube.
Excellent. And I really appreciate you being with us today, brother. This is only going to grow. I may ask you to come back on before next Wednesday to talk about some of this stuff because good Lord. But let me get to Phil. He's been waiting in the wings, and I apologize for keeping him waiting. But thanks so much, brother.
I'll see y'all. Hey, and you let Phil know to stay safe. I'll definitely want to get in touch with him pretty soon because I do plan on taking a little bit of a vacation, and I'm thinking about going over to that part of the world. So
beautiful. All right. Sounds like a plan. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. There he goes. And ladies and gentlemen, Phil Ittner joining us right now. Sorry to keep you waiting, brother. With this breaking stuff that came out of the Atlantic, it's just a holy shit moment. I don't know if you've caught up on any of it or seen that this morning, what your take is. Let's just get your take on it straight away. And also, we're glad to see you. Everybody in the chat is always relieved to see you because of, I don't even know where to even get started catching up on this. Whoops, I don't hear you. I do not hear your mic. You seem to be muted. Something in here? Fire away, let me hear you. Nope. Yeah, your mic is muted on that end somehow. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can. You might. Let me go back to me, and then we will. Maybe we might have to reload you. Hold on one second. I will do
There
this.
we go. There we are. Hello.
Yeah, there we go. Hold on. There we go.
There we
There
go.
you go.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Uh,
Okay.
I
And
may not have seen the very, very latest,
yeah,
but obviously, uh,
yeah,
it's, um, I mean, it's putting U.S. service members' lives at risk, uh, just
yeah.
with complete regard. That's my thing. Having spent so
Right.
many times with U.S. service members, and I have a real deep respect for them, and for them to be so negligent with their lives is, I think everybody who was on that call should be removed from office and face
Yeah.
prosecution.
Yeah. I mean, obviously that's where a lot of us are going to go immediately with this thing. And it's amazing to me that they are, I mean, they think this is just going to disappear. They really do. They really think
Hmm.
that this is, and well, scandals happen. Who gives a shit? Right? That's what they think is going to occur. It is stunning to me. That and it gets worse every day. This is not one of those scandals that peters out. The drop today, and I'll show you this because I don't know that we're able to show you this. Um, but this is whoops. I don't know why this is in here. Hold on, I'll show you. Come here, you. Um, I gotta put it on here. Think. Wrong one. Sorry. Tertiary display. Is that it? There we go. This business right here, hold on, I'll publish this. Think there we go. Um, is what came out today. This is
Yeah.
after yesterday. They said this is not classified whatsoever. Jeffrey Goldberg went to the Atlantic's lawyers and said, "Hey, the national security director, the head of the CIA, both of them said this shit ain't classified." Multiple times under oath. Therefore, we can share it. Also, it is after action, so they made the decision that morally it is not putting soldiers' lives in danger, even if these assholes are lying. Right? And this is the part that Pete Hegseth posted that gives the time, the weather, the F-18s, the Tomahawks would be followed, strike drones, the MQ-9s, that's a specific drone we're using. F-18s launch for a second strike package at 1410. This lets everybody know the timetable for what is about to happen in 2.5 hours. Half hour from the launch, 2 hours from target. That is plenty of fucking time if you fucking walk to clear the blast zone if you are the enemy. So the idea that
Hmm.
this isn't, this isn't shouldn't be classified as just bullshit. And then you got 2.5 hours also to reposition your defenses so that you could fire on the F-18s as they come over.
And you get the
Yeah.
impression that he is showing off. He's
Yes.
this isn't information that they necessarily need to know. Anybody on that thread.
Right.
This is, you get the impression this is Hegseth trying to get a little bit of a dick swagger
Yeah.
going on, and it's pathetic because he's playing with lives. And I mean, you know, it's
Yeah.
anybody else, heads would roll.
Yeah.
Everybody on that chat, on that channel, should have informed, at the very least. Well, first, they shouldn't have been there. Secondly, having been there, they should have, when this kind of crap started, they should have recused themselves and immediately gone to
Right.
military intelligence, or whatever organ of security and law enforcement, because
Yeah.
this is even being in remotely in connection to this kind of crap would
Yeah.
normally get you serious legal repercussions. And
Yeah.
if nothing is done, then then fuck it.
Yeah.
Everything. I mean, it just from
Well,
now on out, fuck it.
right. Well, that again, this is where certainly it's obvious that Democrats see blood in the water around this, as they should. There has not
As they
been
should,
a more
rightfully
clear,
so.
easy to define scandal. Yes, absolutely. But there's also room for people around the Republican world, especially, that don't like these idiots and sycophants that he's put in this office, to get another bite at the apple of kicking these people out. Look, we gave you the people you wanted and they fucked up. They got to go. And we're going to lose all so much. Like, we could get soldiers killed. They could get soldiers fucking
Mhm.
killed. And heads need to roll. This is not like, well, lesson learned. Nothing really came of it. The only reason something didn't come of it is because Jeffrey Goldberg didn't make a phone call to anybody related to the Houthis to ask for comment during that window, or somebody from the UN that had somebody listening on the line, or one of our
And
partners in
I
the
will
area.
say, not to distract from the major conversation, which is the egregious nature of how these guys were conducting operations. But I
Right.
will push. I have seen, not a lot, but I've seen some criticism of Goldberg and the way he managed the intelligence, and the way he managed the story, and criticism of him in the sense of, like, dude, you got to just show everything you've got. It's like
Mm.
none of this, like being. No,
Right.
he did this responsibly. I may
Yep.
not even agree with every way that he conducted the way he did things, but I think there's no disputing that he was responsible with the information. He didn't release it, um, prior to the
Yep.
operations, which would have further endangered those service members' lives,
Right.
and it would have undermined the entire point of bringing this to light. And I'm glad he
Yeah.
didn't wait for a book. There's the other thing, is that he didn't, because he easily could have. But I think any criticism of the way he handled the situation is moot. He did the right
Yeah.
thing. These are the
Yes.
guys who are at fault. It's all on them. The fact that he brought it to light, and the fact that he, um, didn't, like, there's the CIA name that he didn't release. 100% right thing to do.
Yeah.
If I were him, if I were in his boots, what I would have done is exactly what he did. But then the
Yeah.
moment that it was verified that it actually happened, I would have gone to, um, I would have, locked it down with my editors, and then
Yep.
as the Atlantic, as an organization, not as a journalist, gone to DOD, gone to, military intelligence, gone to, all, and said, we have this information. You need to tell us what we can release that doesn't compromise human lives and American
Right.
lives. And we're not going to sit on it, but we will vet it with you, so that no American lives are in jeopardy. And then, and I suspect that's exactly what he's done. Judging from what he has said, he has done. I'm willing to
Yeah.
bet that he went through a vetting process, took it to DOD and said, "We got this.
Yeah.
It's indisputable. What we are going to take it to print, one way or the other. We're going to take this to print, but we don't want American service members' lives to be put at risk. So,
Right.
help. I've done that. I've done that before myself. I've done that before with the U.S. military and said, we have this story. We're going to print it, come hell or high water. But we do not want to be irresponsible and put lives at jeopardy. So, help us vet this. And 9 times out of 10, the Pentagon worked with us when it came to
Hmm.
stuff like this. I mean, I was involved in the breaking of the Abu Ghraib story, for example.
Right.
And we worked with the Pentagon about like, okay, how are we going to do this so that we don't like dox people, or that without due process, we don't put somebody's name out there that will put them at risk without them having been tried and convicted. You know, you have to do proper, responsible journalism, which is why I'm
Yeah.
incredibly. They got lucky, frankly,
They so
that
did.
it
Holy
was a
shit.
responsible journalist, and it wasn't some hack from wherever. Name your kind of
Yeah.
half-ass organization. They
Holy
got real
shit!
lucky.
If it had simply been somebody from like Mother Jones who thought it was their responsibility to stop a bombing and was anti-Saudi enough to just decide that how this needs to stop no matter what or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like it could have been. It makes as much sense as Jeffrey Goldberg being added to the fucking chain. So yesterday, by the way, Caroline Leavitt and everybody at the fucking White House, they were asked about this. And, like obviously they're asking for comment. One of the things they asked him was, "What's your objection to us printing what was discussed on this chain? What was the actual battle plans that came out?" Late yesterday, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt emailed a response. As we have repeatedly stated, there was no classified information transmitted in the group chat. However, as the CIA Director and National Security Advisor had both expressed today, that does not mean we encourage the release of the conversation. This was intended to be an internal and private deliberation amongst high-level senior staff, and sensitive information was discussed. So for those reasons, sensitive information, which is just fucking the Dodges. Yes, we object to the release. The Leavitt statement did not address which statements of the text the White House considered sensitive or how, more than a week after the initial airstrikes, the publication could have bearing on national security. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Again, you can look at how we hit things before, and if you have more detail than you might have, just by observation, you might learn something for next time if you're going to defend your position or defend yourself. So all of that shit, battle plans before and after, are largely classified for that very reason. The specifics, right? Shock and awe. You can read about shock and awe in the fucking paper and see pictures of it. But if you know how shock and awe was actually exercised, you can go, oh, the next time the U.S. military is going to try something, they're going to start with these energy points. They're going to hit these internal points. They move from the center out. They move from the outside in. Whatever that shit is, you can fortify your defenses. And, in the future, knowing that one day they might come a knocking and you built your system up to protect yourself. So, of course,
Yep.
you want to keep the specifics quiet. It's so pathetic. God damn.
Yeah.
Uh,
Everybody who was on that call is susceptible to
yeah.
being
Litigation. Yeah.
the
Criminal
litigation.
charges.
Criminal
Yeah.
charges. Yeah. I mean, it's just. I mean, people have
Yeah.
said, "Oh, this is the first scandal of the Trump 2.0 administration." No, man, this isn't like the first. This is earth shattering.
Yeah.
This is, if any other president had his majority of his entire cabinet, implicated in a situation like this, and the heads will roll. I disagree with those who say, "Oh, they're going to escape scot
Nothing
free
will happen.
because it's
Right.
nothing will happen because it's Trump." And no, this thing has too much momentum. It's
Yeah. Well,
somebody's going to be
right.
removed.
So never mind the whole like weird
Everybody should
Trump
be,
call.
but somebody will.
Yes. Trump says Goldberg's a total sleazebag and a liar. Okay, well then let's just put it that your national security advisor, the guy you hired, put a total sleazebag and a liar in a secret chat. So let's just start there. If what you're saying is
Yeah.
true about Goldberg, your fucking guy let him in. So who's I mean, we all know sleazebags and liars. We're not letting them sit in on private discussions about product releases or upcoming, like the next Marvel fucking film, much less battle plans. So that's not a defense. The other thing is one of the details that was in this is Ratcliffe mentioned the name of his chief of staff in the chat. And Ratcliffe's chief of staff at the CIA is they do not publicly mention those names for national security reasons. The people he works with in the CIA, it's why you don't often hear about like the secondary staff and people who work with them. They're CIA advisors who might be part of the messaging chain that often comes out, right? But the rest of these, like, you don't know who the fucking chief of staff and the primary assistants that the CIA director has. They're not even the people who show up when they testify. There's other people, military people show up and sit next to them most of the time because you don't want people to know who the fuck they are and follow them home and hit them over the fucking head and take their laptop and see if they can break in and all kinds of shit, or leverage their fucking family and all that kind of shit. And Ratcliffe, after saying, I don't know of any targets, any specific weapon systems, mentions the name of his own chief of staff in there, which is a detail that is classified. CIA spokesperson asked The Atlantic to withhold the name of Ratcliffe's chief of staff, which he had shared in the signal chain, because CIA intelligence officers are traditionally not publicly identified. Ratcliffe testified earlier yesterday the officer is not undercover and said it was completely appropriate to share their name in the signal conversation. We will, and what he means is in the signal conversation because he believed it to be private. That's because he's fucking stupid. They're going to continue. The Atlantic is going to continue to withhold the name. They are not going to release it. But every other message that they put up is unredacted. They print them out and they have images of them. Holy shit. And again, Witkoff was in Moscow, which brings us to
Yep.
our normal talking point right now. So far, if I check I don't know how reliable Apple Watches are, but I think it's been more than 24 hours since the election. And the Ukrainians are at least in languaging, being willing to play ball with Trump, or it make it feel like they're on his team and partly manipulating him. That's how you do it. So I don't know whether they're all in on these things or they're just going, yeah, we can tell him we'll give him this, and it's not even something we're giving away. It's just a thing. Nobody cares about it. We'll tell him we're willing to not fight in the Black Sea right now, if he'll do this and that. And that, I mean, I don't know that it has any real material impact on the battle at all right now, but it makes Trump think that they're giving him an easier time than Putin is.
Well, and to show their incompetence,
Right.
it,
Fuck.
it indicates how easily they can be manipulated, and also how stupid they are and ignorant they are. I mean, there's a whole blockchain period of this conversation where they're shitting on the
Right.
European. And
Yes.
so if you're Moscow or if you're Kiev, you're looking at that and you're going, okay, well, that'll inform our decision. It's the the whole thing about like, oh, these damn Europeans who are just
Right.
I'm so
Leeching off of
sick,
us.
yeah, leeching off of us, and this kind of attitude towards them, that's music to Moscow's ear. They just have to
Yep.
put pressure on, you know, this, that, or the other thing, or this individual or that individual, and
Right.
they're going to get the result that they need. So it's
Yeah.
it reveals how incompetent these guys are, and it reveals how we are just dealing
Yeah.
with people who are so in over their heads.
Yeah.
And if I'm Kiev right now, I'm not looking to cooperate too closely with the Americans. I
Nope.
mean, why would you share intelligence with them if they leak like a sieve like this?
Yeah.
It's it we I just it baffles me
Yeah.
That we aren't, that more people aren't out. I mean, I know that we have a MAGA movement that's going to push back, and I know
Yeah.
that we have an uphill battle when it comes to censoring or preferably removing some of these people. But the alternative might be starting to get to a point where it's even worse. It's like if we don't get rid of these people, um, as difficult as it will be to get rid of them, to
Yeah.
let them continue is going to be
Yeah.
far more dangerous. Another 4 years of this, I mean, it's
Right.
going to just be, manna from heaven to all of our enemies. And what's it going to take? I mean, do we have to have human lives get lost? Do we,
Right.
do we have to have an aircraft carrier in the Straits of Hormuz, sunk, or,
Right.
some god awful event where American soldiers die in large numbers for us to
Right.
go, we're being led by idiots who are,
Yeah.
easily compromised. It's just, it's, there has to be repercussions from this. There has to
Right.
be.
Yeah. Well, I really
Otherwise,
do
we're screwed.
agreed. I really do feel like there is there will be. I really do. It's interesting.
I
Like
think so too.
I think Waltz is probably the most in danger, and the reason is because his name is known the least. He is,
Yeah.
Trump does this kind of fucking apprentice fame thing, and Pete Hegseth is the splashy, well-known butch friend of Don Jr. douchebag that they all wish they could be somehow. And in dealing with like him, it's just it'd be noisier to fire him. Waltz, for some reason Trump likes him and is almost defending him more than Hegseth, and he did the primary fuck up, which is introduce Jeffrey Goldberg to this chat. He's the one who invited him in. He's the one who. That's why
Mhm.
he's in the fucking chat. So I feel like Waltz is the obvious easy target. But there is no reason why Hegseth should stay on. And Ratcliffe, like I feel like Tulsi Gabbard, oddly enough, is the safest among these motherfuckers. But
I think
Ratcliffe's,
Rubio is.
yes,
Rubio's the safest.
right, right, yeah. I don't. Rubio didn't speak
Because
on it, so I
Rubio,
think, oh,
well, no, because Rubio was, well, a
right,
rare opportunity for me to give praise to Marco Rubio, but
right.
Rubio was, I think, smart enough to be like, I don't want to have anything to do with this.
I'm
I
out.
don't,
Right,
I'm out. I'm out. I think the first thing he says is like, I'm going to be in Colorado,
yeah,
campaigning or on the stump or some such thing,
yeah.
and he's just, I'm out. I'm out. Because I think he was probably smart enough to realize this
Don't
is
include. Don't include me on
yeah,
this. I need to distance myself from these dumb motherfuckers right now, or my
yeah,
career is over. Right.
yeah. Even as it is,
Well,
I mean, I think everybody who was involved in that chain and didn't bring it to the attention of DOD, DOJ, name your law enforcement agency, name your
right.
intelligence agency or security apparatus. The second that was going on, and they didn't go, this is totally wrong, and we should not be doing this. Well, if you didn't bring it to the attention of somebody else, then you're complicit. So even Rubio, I think, should face repercussions from this. But of all of them, I think I think Tulsi probably walks away from this. I think, I think most of them probably. Maybe they chuck Walls under the bus because he was the one that included Goldberg. But I really, in a
Right.
normal world, all these guys would be screwed.
Right.
If they were if they were lower level civilians or lower level in the kind of intelligence apparatus,
Right.
we wouldn't even be arguing this. They would be instantly subject to prosecution. But
Yeah.
because these guys are big fish, I don't know which of them are going to face any consequences. But it's just it's it's
Right.
catastrophic. It's not, as much as I think they would love to have this go away, I don't think it is. I really don't. I think this is just way too fucked up. And
Yeah.
they'll try and do the things which I guess I've already seen them doing, of kind of like, oh, blame the messenger, so attack Goldberg. Or it's, this only shows how smart we are, and how we kind of like negotiate how things go. Well, yeah, okay, but that shouldn't have been done on a platform like Signal.
Right.
It's just,
Here's so I'll be
I'm
covering
just
this afternoon because
stunned.
I'm obviously gonna cover this part of it, but let me show you something real quick. This is Gabbard this morning. Thanks, Andrea, for pointing this out, and I found it at our dear friends at crooksandliars.com. I guess she's already in the hearing this morning. They're already doing that part of it. Gabbard says, yes, ranking member, my answer yesterday was based on my recollection or the lack thereof on the details that were posted there a week and a half ago. I was not. And what was shared today reflects the fact that I was not directly involved with that part of the Signal chat, and replied at the end reflecting the effects, the very brief effects that the National Security Advisor had shared. So it's your testimony that less than 2 weeks ago, you were on a Signal chat that had all this information about F-18s and MQ-9 Reapers and targets on strike, and you in the 2 week period simply forgot that was there. That's your testimony. My testimony is that I did not recall the exact details of what was included there. That was not your testimony. Your testimony was that you were not aware of anything related to weapons, packages, targets, and timing. As the testimony yesterday continued on, there were further questions related to that where I acknowledged that there was conversation about weapons. I don't remember the exact wording that I used, but I did not recall the specific details that were included. Director Gabbard, you've asserted that there was no classified information. I think we can all agree that the information shouldn't have been out there. But let me ask you this, and they go on to ask her about this is just going to get worse because they're going to get called back to the Senate. They had a closed door session with the Senate after the open door session yesterday. And then they have the House one today. They're going to do a closed door session more than likely after that one as well. And then they're going to get called back. And I want to see like a rotation of like Hegseth needs to be called in there. He needs to speak in front of Congress. If they're going to throw all this, Lloyd Austin went to the hospital for 5 days and didn't tell anybody while everything was running perfectly fine in his absence. I don't want to hear shit about that if you're just going to be okay with like the SecDef being in Hawaii doing push-ups and playing Magnum PI while everybody else is taking the fall for him. Holy God. Like like this is, I mean, it's it's just increasingly fucking embarrassing. It's yeah.
And everybody's made the connection to Hillary's server,
Yeah.
and I think it's worth pointing out in terms of the hypocrisy. But this is so much worse
It's so much
than
worse.
that. So much worse
Because
than
it's
that.
proof.
And
It's proof of and actual battle plans before they happened. She was fucking Secretary of State. And you could argue that there were positioning documents or something that she maybe were going to negotiate with people. Blah, blah, blah. But this is war plans. In an hour, in 2.5 hours, our planes are going to be over the Houthi area and they're going to be dropping bombs and firing on shit. And those guys could fire at them. They have in the past. They have fired on these guys. And if they knew when they were
and
going
they
to
have
arrive,
and
it'd
they
make it
have the
easier.
capacity. They have the
Yes.
capacity. They have anti-aircraft systems that, if they were
Yep.
pre-warned, could have shot one of our boys out of the sky. And also another reason why I don't think the equivalency is proper is because, uh, first off, I don't believe that Hillary having a server in her home was a breach. But
Right.
that's neither here nor there anymore. We're so past that now,
Yeah.
you know. And this is major members of the cabinet. This isn't just the Secretary of State putting a server in her home so that she could work from home. This is anybody
Yeah.
with a civilian cell phone could
Jesus.
have
Yeah.
breach these. It's
Right.
so much worse. I mean, by a factor of, you know, well, how many, what, 12 members of the cabinet or something like that? I mean,
Right.
it's 12 times worse. And each individual one of those guys is not just having a classified server put in their home, they're using their civilian, mobile phones with even if it is encrypted, it's magnitudes of levels of worse.
Yeah.
Uh, and if they don't do anything about it, if there are no repercussions for these guys, then
Right.
where are we? Where are we? What does that
Yeah.
mean? You know,
So nuts.
now their heads have got to roll, or
Well,
we are no longer. We can't even pretend to be
yeah.
operating
So
in a
let's.
secure
I,
situation of
I'm going to see
Gabbard.
if we can. You should be able to hear this, but
Answer yesterday was based on my recollection, or the lack thereof, on the details that were posted there. I was not, and what was shared today reflects the fact that I was not directly involved with that part of the Signal chat, and replied at the end, reflecting the effects, the very brief effects that the National Security
4 texts
Advisor
later.
had shared.
So it's your testimony that less than 2 weeks ago, you were on a Signal chat that had all of this information about F-18s and MQ-9 Reapers and targets on strike, and you in that 2-week period simply forgot that that was there. That's your testimony?
My testimony is I did not recall the exact details of what was included there.
That was not your testimony. Your testimony was that you were not aware of anything related to weapons packages, targets, and timing.
Member, my answer
Yeah,
yesterday was based on my recollection, or the lack thereof, on the details that were posted there.
Let's go there.
I
Hold
was
on,
not, what was
back
shared
at it.
today reflects the fact that I was.
Like the fucking nerve.
They're not going to be able. They're not going to be able to weasel out of it. Not that way.
Nope.
They're going to get. They'll get protected. The way I think that they can is the way that is most likely that
Yeah.
they escape consequences for this action is that they will be protected by on high, including
Yeah.
all the way up to POTUS. But they will not be able to escape this by weaseling out of it, saying, "Oh, I didn't know," or "Nothing was classified." Well, then, if nothing was classified, why didn't you reveal it?
Yeah.
You can't have it
Yeah.
both ways.
This so
They will not be able to weasel out of it on their own. They will have to
no.
be protected from on high.
So our dear friend Connie Kelly points out something that I brought up for all during that part of the scandal around Hillary server was it was never breached. You could say what you will about like the missing emails, but imagine an era where emails can't go missing. They're always somewhere, and yet she managed to make some fucking disappear. That's incredible. So the idea that like, she was playing like fast and loose with national security secrets. The State Department's computers were breached during the time she was Secretary of State because of failures of OPSEC there. Not her problem. She wasn't the IT executive at fucking state. They broke into the state servers. The Chinese did. And so far as we know, the Russians probably did too, looking back. They never got into her server. One of the reasons why you can't find the emails is because they're gone. It's like it's an incredible feat of technology that she had better security on her server than the State Department did. Petraeus had Gmail. That's how he found out he was having an affair, and he was while writing with his like ghostwriter. So while he was writing his autobiography, he was giving her national secrets as fucking pillow talk. And we know this because he used Gmail. Losing your job because you share secrets on Gmail, it should, is obviously the standard. But Petraeus deserved to lose his job because he said under oath he thought Gmail was secure. As the head of the CIA, are you shitting me? You think, and again, I think this is just like the Gabbard lie. No, you don't. You fucking do not. There's no way anybody believes that Gmail is secure on a CIA level. Are you, what? this like, and safe from whom? Everybody but anybody who works at Google or any of their sites all over the globe. What? Especially at that time, like it's embarrassing. Like they're asking us to violate the what is it? There's a willing suspension of disbelief. When you're watching a fictional story and you're like, okay, I know people can't fly, but for the sake of the movie Chronicle, it's awesome that this asteroid gives them the ability to fly and do other stuff, and it's a fucking fantastic ride. So I am willing to suspend my disbelief because within the confines of the story, this works for me. This breaks the law of the willing suspension of disbelief. You are asking too much of your audience. Nobody buys this.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that Weiss himself is now saying that he created, I mean, openly says, I created the group.
Yeah.
It's,
He, yeah. And again, is that the beginning of him being, kicked to the curb? Is that the beginning of like Waltz knows his days are limited, so he's just going to go out the door and get a job at the fucking RNC or some shit like that? But this, under any normal situation, Pam, I have no idea where the Epstein files are. Bondi, in her position, should be setting up prosecution to anybody who leaked public, made public war plans before they happened on an app you're not supposed to be using with a fucking reporter present. Yeah.
it beggars belief. It absolutely beggars belief. And for them to, if they skate on this,
Yeah.
the damage will be irreparable.
Yeah.
How's Ukraine? Well, we're fine here. The reaction to this has been not overwhelming here in Ukraine because they've already seen that America
Yeah.
is a unreliable partner. I would say on this side of the Atlantic, there's growing recognition of this,
Yeah.
that they're going to have to fight the Russians on their own
Right.
because of this kind of behavior. We're almost to the point of being untethered. And
Yeah.
then our partners and allies and neighbors are going to be like, you're out of control. You are
Compromised.
totally 100% compromised. We cannot rely on you in any way. And that's, I mean, going to be music to Moscow's ears. But if there's an upside to it, and I don't think there is an upside to it, but if there is to be an upside to it, it's that the Europeans and the Ukrainians are going to be like, all right, okay, we know that we can't trust the Americans, and
Yeah.
we can't work with, which is tragic. Which is tragic. It shouldn't be that
Right.
way, but I totally understand. We are we're
Hmm.
we're in bad shape. We are really in bad shape, and we
Right.
need to get our shit together. And I don't think we can wait until the midterms. And I don't know what that means, but we either have to make POTUS lame duck in
Yeah.
some way. We have to, maybe I don't expect it to happen, but Congress has to find a backbone, or the judiciary, or our governors, or our
Well,
people, or whatever it takes. I don't care. Whatever it freaking takes. I don't think can wait until the midterms when we have an administration who's like, this is a substantial amount of his cabinet, which has been
yeah.
completely and utterly compromised and shown bad judgment to the point of being, removable. And if
Right.
nothing is done, then we are at a place where we're a rogue state. And
Yeah.
I never thought I would say that.
There's an element of like, constitutional crisis aspect of this because, again, there are absolutely Trump sycophants who believe the sun shines out of his ass and he can do no wrong. And then there are a lot fewer of those than he thinks there are. there are a lot more people who are willing to take advantage of rubes like that by playing along until such time as it becomes too much. And in the case of, Trump currently, um, you're seeing, again, like you were pointing out with Marco Rubio, people are like, they can tell shit is going down, and they're like, yeah, I need to have a legacy. I need to have a life. You guys, you do you,
Yeah.
But the question is, how long did they think this can go on before there have to be actual ramifications? Now, I saw yesterday, I brought it up, a bunch of these like Peanut Butter Dickhead and Glenn Beck and people over at the Daily Wire and all this stuff doing the Tulsi tap
Mhm.
dance, trying to cover for this. But you could tell there was at least one person on the panel. And I mean, fucking Glenn Beck's just covering UFOs and JFK right now. He's not going anywhere near this shit because he's a fucking wuss. But you could tell that during their show, they're like, we'll talk about that later. We'll see how this shakes out. There's a lot of information that's still out there, and we don't know what's what. Like, they're using that as an excuse. Okay, that's going to dry up quick.
Mhm.
And but they all threw themselves out there yesterday trying to make every possible excuse, hoping to quickly put this in the rearview mirror. And it did not
Didn't work.
work.
Yeah. This is not going
It
away.
Nope. This is
Nor
far
should
worse
it.
than anything they ever accused Hillary of doing.
Yeah. It's not going anywhere, nor should it.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think uh, guys like Rubio are wisely were like, don't want to have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is happening in the media section is they tried smearing Goldberg first. That
Right.
didn't stick.
Did not
Then
work.
they tried polishing the turd by saying it shows, they we're so
We're awesome.
working, we're awesome
Right.
working as a well-oiled machine together to figure things out.
Mm,
That's not going to last. That hasn't last, and
nope.
it's not going to get traction. Um, the second that somebody from the White House or from one of the other what was the I forget if it was DOD or who
Hmm.
else came out and said no, this had actually happened, and we're going to look into why Goldberg
Oh,
was
yeah,
mistakenly allowed on the
yeah, the NSA, the National Security Agency,
NSA said that.
yeah, they confirmed that it was real, and
Yeah.
they're doing their internal investigation. Trump has famously gotten rid of all the IGs that he could possibly get rid of to stop investigations like this in the first place. The problem with it, when you do that, is you might have a perfunctory person in there that you don't like, but you might have also had somebody left over from when he was in office that might have been a little more favorable. Now they've got to bring in somebody fresh from, either their own investigative squad working with, and eventually cluing in Pam Bondi and the DOJ, and their whole like the weaponization of lawfare blah, blah, falls apart immediately because all these these are real crimes. These are real problems. These are if and again, if it was fucking
Yeah.
anybody else, they would be up their ass forever. This would be the only text they would ever need to show next to Hillary Clinton's face for all goddamn time. And you could tell, I'm going to see if I can show you this picture. I'll blow it up a little bit. Just the AP. There we go. The AP, I'm going to be watching right after the show today, obviously. We're at the end. I want to remind everybody on the edge on Sunday. Phil is, like delivering like the news that you need from Ukraine in a way that other people just frankly aren't. So I want to remind everybody that please subscribe to his YouTube channel and follow him around and come join him when he comes with us on the show on Wednesdays, especially because he gets to swear at these fuckheads. Look at Tulsi Gabbard's face. This, as freeze frames go, ladies and gentlemen, this is as puppy dog as you fucking get. This is a person who is aware that this could very well be the moment that their future has arrived at today, when you thought you had this road out in front of you and on it a series of milestones leading you to the goal you had, and the quickening of life is bringing the end of the road closer and closer to you. That is the face you make in a freeze frame on a panel. Kash Patel, and then Ratcliffe's thing is looking over the top of his glasses, which he thinks makes him look professorial and condescending. And he thinks he can use that as a defense mechanism. Somebody at the CIA told him he could do that, and it works with 72% of people. But look at her face right there. This is that there are few things more womp womp in the world than the face she is making. And with good fucking reason. This
No, they've
this
all got
is
to go. I mean, if it
terrible.
was up to me,
Yeah.
and it's not, and I recognize that, but if it was everybody who was on that call,
Clean house.
everybody, if you were
Yeah.
on that call and you did not pass it along
Right.
to somebody in in authority, if you didn't report it, you're liable.
Yeah.
They've all got to go. They've
Yep.
all got it's.
They all
I hope I'm wrong,
and
and I hope that that that
I
repercussions do happen. And look. The other thing is, even if they don't, which there are going to be
right.
guys I think that will survive this. But this makes, in the best of all worlds, this makes him this makes the rest of his presidency a lame duck presidency, because
Mm,
he can no longer legitimately lead because he has a cabinet filled with lawbreakers,
right.
and that should
And it,
make him a lame duck. He should not be able to do anything else for the
right.
rest of his term because he's so
Your mouth
wildly
to God's
compromised.
ears. Right.
Yeah,
But here's the thing.
I
If
wish.
that is, yeah, if that is articulated to him, that these people will hang around your neck like an albatross and shoot down everything you want to do because allies aren't going to help us if they can't trust our national security people. If they, we're not going to be able to engage with these things. You can't just tariff war your way out of this bullshit. You've got to at some point um, dump somebody. That's the beginning. He dropped this would be his second time he's dropped his NSA in the first quarter of a year if he has to get rid of Waltz. Waltz would, as sycophantic as he is, would throw himself on the, under the bus probably to save Trump the embarrassment. And he's sort of already started that tour. Tulsi Gabbard, also very aware that there is a criminal liability here. She's not stupid. She's disgusting. She's awful. She's, I would argue, a criminal and a traitor, but she is not dumb. Where Trump goes, I'm not a Russian agent. I'm not, like, of course you're not, asshole. Nobody would ever trust you to drive the car. You're not, you're an asset, pronounced asshat, but you are not an agent. Nobody's going to expect you to fucking James Bond your way into some place and shove a thumb drive up your ass and sneak out while dancing, with the princess at the whatever the consulate, and ask for a martini, shaken not stirred. They just know you're they can play with you. But Tulsi Gabbard is an active participant in this shit. And the more attention
Mhm.
you draw to somebody like that, the worse it is for them. They only have value if they can kind of have this plausible deniability, that they can give this illusion that they know what they're doing and that they're capable and that they can't get caught. Rule number one, the CIA, never get caught. Never get caught. Too late. Yeah.
And
This,
there'll be a month. Then there'll be months of trying to find replacements. They'll be they'll fight it tooth and nail, and they'll be
mhm.
obsessed with it and lame ducks for months until the eventual removal of whoever's going to actually catch it, and then there'll be the entire process of replacing them. This has cost the Trump administration a year
Yeah.
at least. at
And
least.
he needed to get his
And
tax
that's,
cut done in the first
yeah, he did.
150 days.
Yeah, he did.
And Chuck Schumer already fucked him out of that one, just trying to get the bill off the ground. The CR, I know people are like, Chuck Schumer fucked up and they gave all this ground. Bullshit. He stopped Trump from getting his tax cut in the first 100 days. The House had it prepped. The Senate had a backdoor to it that would allow them to do it in October. But by then, the tariff shit isn't going to work. It's going to be too late. He won't be able to clear it. And the CR keeps that from happening. It was brilliant. Meanwhile, this adds time to that on
Yep.
top of it.
They're gonna be obsessed with it. They're gonna be hobbled by it. It's gonna
Mhm.
take it. It is going to absolutely screw this administration
Yeah.
for, as I say, if not an entire year, the better part of the year, and then the year after that, we'll probably be dealing with the aftermath as the smoke continues
Right.
to clear. This is disastrous for them, and I'm not. I wish I was more happy about it, and I'm
hmm
not. I'm not happy about it because it shows how screwed up we are.
hmm
I'm happy about it in the sense that it's going to damage his capability to do certain things that I think he wanted to do because he's going to have to deal with this. And
Yeah.
even as he deals with it, it's still going to be, um, you know, uh, it's still going to be, as you say, an albatross around his neck. It's just, it was, it's, you hire stupid people, and this is what happens.
Yeah.
And it's, it's just, it's,
Yeah.
again, I don't want to see my country being led by idiots, but if it has to be led by idiots, at least let them get caught up in their
Bullshit
own
quicker and not
bullshit
cost any lives
quicker.
in the process. Like, I mean, we went through this with
We can
COVID
hope.
last time. Yeah, the idiocy of the Trump administration cost us lives during COVID. Let's hope the price is smaller this time before there's some ramification to this kind of shit. And they yes, somebody was mentioning MAR in that chat may end up being Marco Rubio. It is Marco Antonio Rubio is his name. So he shows up as MAR in that chat. And he's on twice because there's two phones, because he has separate private phones because Secretary of State has multiple things. By the way, all of the people are being sued by American Oversight for misuse of and mishandling of government secrets. So, like this again, this is not going away. This and what they did the minute Hegseth posted that stuff, he made everybody else in that chat that stayed a criminal.
Yep.
Period. That's how it works. Now they can. Trump can pardon them. They can, Pam Bondi can fucking tap dance around it. Their own IGs can protect them in these circles. But everybody knows it, and no, like even the most sycophantic Trump supporters or Newsmax and all these other places are like, I guarantee it today and yesterday and for the foreseeable future, and we're going, fuck, why do we always have to? They have that on us now. They have that. They can always throw this in our faces,
Hmm.
and and it's Hegseth's fault. That motherfucker. That's what I guarantee that's where they're all going. This drunk son of a bitch, is doing the same bullshit he did at Fox News, but with soldiers' lives.
And I see people making the argument that like this is going to disappear in a month. That the news cycle will move on with the right wing media and things like that. I get that sentiment. I get that concern. I don't think that's the case. I think this
hmm
is way.
Yeah,
If this was going to be a temporary issue, and if this had a longevity to it and a shelf life to it,
right.
we already would have discerned that there is a shelf life. This thing's only getting started. It's
Yep.
we haven't even in a news cycle. You get the initial splash of something, and it rises to a certain crescendo, and then it tends to plateau for a bit, and it either ratchets up or it tapers off.
Mhm.
We haven't even begun the ascension yet, much less
Nope.
the plateau. First off, I don't think it will taper off after the plateau.
I
I
agree.
think it will ramp up. It will plateau, and then something else will come out and it will ratchet back up. This, this has legs. This has sticking power,
Yes.
and it's not
Yep.
going to disappear.
No. And
They're going to
usually after
try
that,
and make it
yeah.
disappear, but it ain't
Right.
going to happen.
I want to remind everybody, please subscribe to Phil's channel. I'm going to let him go. I kept him over because we started a little bit late today, but I will see you on Saturday for the show. Also,
Yes, you
May
will.
3rd, I'm doing a show from Chicago. We'll be doing it live for CPT and all that kind of stuff. And hopefully I will be able to, I think they're going to have a screen there. So we'll get to, at least at the live thing, have you on the screen so people can see you joining us
We'd
for the
love that.
show there. Yeah.
Yeah, we'd love that.
But
We'll
please
coordinate it. We
stay,
have time.
yeah, please stay safe. And then we'll talk to you on Saturday about, again, this treading water aspect. The one thing that it's bought them time is nobody's asking about the Epstein files or the Ukraine Russia peace plan or any of that stuff right now.
Yep.
And this isn't going to disappear and be buried by other news sources. It's going to stack with the incompetence. It's going to be another brick in this wall that they are going to be banging their head against. So appreciate it, Phil. Take care of
All right.
yourselves,
Talk to you on
everybody
Saturday.
out there, and we'll see you guys next week. Yeah.
All
Okay,
right.
I'll
All
let
right,
you
guys.
go.
See ya.
Cheers. There he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, Phil Ittner joining us. And thank you guys as well. Let me bring in the chat real quick on my way out the door. Because I was in kind of a bum rush to get in. There you guys are. How are you? I drove back last night after doing the Jack Russell tribute at the Whiskey, which was lovely. Can I just say? Jack Russell from Great White, who had an amazing singing voice, and by all measure, by the people who showed up, was a lovely dude. Had Lewy body dementia, and then got multiple system atrophy along with it, as the Lewy body dementia made him start to wither, and it basically stole his body and stole his life, and kind of piled up on it. So last night was an auction and a charity gathering and a special show and a tribute to him with the guys in Jack Russell's Great White that tour with him. And Don Dokken came to the show. And I haven't seen Don Dokken. He sang with us at the Jam a few years ago, but he's getting up there. And as Indiana Jones says, it's not the years, it's the mileage. But Don shows up and sang a song and he did House of Broken Love and did great. He's definitely older, definitely a different tone to his voice, but he brought it because Jack was his friend. And he told a little bit of a story around him. And at the end of the show, at the end of Don's song, I was standing on the side of the stage because he was only doing the one. And he turns towards us to walk towards to go up the stairs at the Whiskey. And he was weeping. He was crying after singing that song. And he turned to the other guys, Tony Montana, who's the guitar player, who used to be the bass player in Great White, who was there, and Dan, and who's the current bass player, walking past them, and basically just says, "It breaks my heart." It was heartbreaking for him to lose his friend. And it was, if you want to stack all the moments I did not think I would experience at the Whiskey A Go-Go, seeing Don Dokken weep over the loss of his friend after doing a lovely rendition of House of Broken Love, would not be on the list. And it was touching. It was sweet and sad, and a tribute to the guy and to the band and to their fans. And my buddy Robert Hall, who passed away, who's my original bass player in 01, and the reason I learned how to play and sing at the same time, was a huge Great White fan. And basically introduced me to them because I'd heard the hits on the radio, but he was the one who was like, this is he would play it in the car when we were driving places, and the whole albums. You know, he was deep into them. And that whole room was filled with people like that. And what occurred to me, and I'll leave you with this, I know I went over a little bit, but today, what is that art oftentimes runs in parallel to the toughest times and the toughest experiences. And the escapist art that we take for granted a lot of times is exactly what we need. And the height of Great White's fame and their albums that came out along with a lot of the other bands at the Whiskey were in the 80s, where we had literally the Cold War was hit like several points where it looked like there might be a full exchange of nuclear weapons or an accidental launch. We were in a situation, and along with, by the way, AIDS and 2 recessions in the 80s. And people forget that in the context of the media that happened during that time. And so I would say to all my friends out there in Hollywood, do everybody a favor. We in this kind of the new media world and the news will take care of the real shit. We will the news will cover the news. I will make it funny. I will do the entertaining version of it. You guys just fuck off. Start making fun noise for people because they need it. Now is not the time for Hollywood lessons. You're not going to break through. Now is the time for people to get a break so that they can come back refreshed. And if they're not going to do that for you, then I would recommend going back and listening to bands like that or going to see bands that are live. And I would also like to remind everybody that if your favorite band is lucky enough to have a farewell tour, you need to recognize not all bands know they are on their farewell tour. Stone Temple Pilots may have had some idea that there weren't that many years left, but they certainly didn't think this was the farewell tour when Scott died. Same thing with Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains did not know that they were on their farewell tour, their last run with Lane. See what I mean? Don't take them for granted. Go see your favorite artists. I got to see King's X twice in the last week, and it was such a joy. And and then to follow it up with this thing is just sweet. It's just very sweet, and it's lovely to see all these people. I'm gonna get all teared up. I'm gonna start doing it. You know me. It was just beautiful to see these people, like the artists who work with him and worked with each other, getting together to go through their grief and enjoy themselves, and the fans of the music getting to see these folks. So just keep that in mind. And I will see you this afternoon. This afternoon, I'm going to have to take a nap because I drove back, but I might start at a different time this afternoon, either later or earlier, depending, and do the entire Gabbard thing. I'm going to watch it so I can go through the whole thing and see if I want to do it in chunks or if I want to just play the whole thing and go through all of it with you, as opposed to just the pieces. So I'll let you guys know, but just keep your eye out. And in the meantime, like and subscribe. And I don't ever ask people to hit the notification bell because you know where I am. I'm here. But share the show, annoy the maggot in your life, and I appreciate you guys more than you know. And every time I have one of those shows where I get all melancholy and my, I have often said I am often panicked by the beauty of life. I have these moments where the art and music and these things take my breath away. Literally, I have these like moments where like this gasp of like, thank God this exists. It's such a gift. So don't take it for granted. Go listen to some music today. I got you covered in the news department. I have a feeling some of this shit's going to get really funny really fast. So be well. All right. Now I didn't hit my song. I apologize. I need to set up a button that allows me to play this thing. And then we'll go with this one. Yeah. you guys.